I had no idea I wanted to be an architect. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I took night classes at LA City College and got all my California requirements taken care of that way. So I graduated in 1954. Then I did the Army graduate school, and came back. I worked for Pereira on the LAX, and that's when I met Walt Disney, actually, first time. The first and only time I met him. And because we were doing the layouts for LAX, and Pereira, who was my teacher in 5th year architecture school, and he always liked my work. LA was pretty open. Everybody was struggling. We were all poor. We didn't have anything. It was vibrant. It was exciting. It was engaging. It was going somewhere. It had a point of view, but it was open to, you had Larry Bell, you had Irwin, you had John L. Toon drawing freaking things. You had Wally Berman with his very intellectual thing, who we just adored. Wally was Mamma Mia. It was a treat to spend time with him. And so it was like a candy store, an intellectual candy store. It was way above the level of the architects. The architects were not talking about poetry and music and Michelangelo. There were no rules. There were no, you can't do this, which I loved. Because I studied Talmud as a kid with my grandfather, and Talmud is why, everything is why. It's wide open. It's the one good thing about the Jewish religion, I think, is that it's intellectually curious, and you're raised that way. You have to realize a lot of the stuff that they were doing that you couldn't do in architecture gave me a license somehow. Oh, okay. It's so, Rauschenberg's combines, it's okay to use junk, because I couldn't get refined details with the kind of people I was working with. I was trained by the Vienna guy at Gruen's, but when I started working, I got really cheesy clients. They didn't have any money. And so there were hammer marks, and, you couldn't get that Viennese perfection. And luckily I was part of the art scene. I saw what was going on, and it was kind of enabling. It was licensed. And it allows me to work within budgets and stuff, because it's not so perfect. But this house was a 2-story, and it was on the corner. It was the only 2-story. It's in a transition zone, so across the street on Washington, it's R3, and behind us it's an R3. So we're right in a transition between single family and I wanted to preserve the character of the Dutch gambrel house, because it was iconic in a way, and I wanted to preserve its iconicity. And so I built the house around it and played collage, I guess, against the other house. If I hadn't known combines, I probably wouldn't have done it, right? But I loved the idea of the kitchen being on the driveway. And I had so if you can imagine the kitchen with the framing up, looking down that space, and a steamroller for the asphalt was in the room. How they got it in there. And it was going back and forth. My excitement was that I changed it, and I did it for real cheap. It was a turning point, yes. It was the first time I was completely on my own.